California governor proposes using $100 million in marijuana tax revenue to help close state budget deficit as he commits to strengthen the industry. As the governor of California pledges to continue working to strengthen the state's marijuana market, he's also proposing to help close an overall government budgetary deficit by borrowing $100 million from a cannabis tax fund designated for law enforcement and other public safety initiatives. Governor Gavin Newsom presented his budget plan on Wednesday, previewing a series of steps that he wants to take to address the state's $37.9 billion deficit. That includes taking a $100 million budgetary loan from the Board of State and Community Correction Cannabis Tax Fund subaccount to support the general fund. A summary of the executive plan notes that the marijuana tax dollars, which would be repaid in a future fiscal year, would come from resources not currently projected to be used for operational or programmatic purposes. The governor's office also used a budget announcement to tout ongoing efforts to improve the state's cannabis industry. That includes reform and simplification of the tax structure, fee relief to support entry into the legal market, investment in grant programs that foster equity, providing resources to cities and counties to expand pathways for local licensing and regulation of cannabis retailers, and assisting local governments to move licensees from provisional licensure to annual licenses. Moving forward, the state will continue focusing on reforms that support and strengthen enforcement against the illegal market and reinforce compliance, accountability, and stability within the legal market, the summary says. Meanwhile, after covering administrative and regulatory costs, the budget estimates that $568 million in marijuana revenue will be earmarked for 2024-2025 to fund education, prevention, and substance use disorders, environmental remediation, and enforcement related to illicit marijuana grows, and public safety initiatives. The California legislature is looking at ways to build on the state's cannabis market while exploring other drug policy reforms dealing with issues such as psychedelics. On Tuesday, the California Assembly committee unanimously approved a revised bill to create a state working group regarding cannabis cafes, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to read the rest of the article. I want to jump right into this for a second. I want to share my opinion with you viewers and then hear what my other guests have to say. Gavin has done a tremendous job of alienating both the left and the right. And so if you like him, it's probably because you're maybe bald and like his hair or the gravelly voice. But the truth is, this gentleman has never been at the forefront of anything. When he was the mayor of San Francisco, he got out in support of gay marriage when it was already a fait accompli and everybody else had already done the work, and he rode the headline. When he did his blue ribbon thing with regulated cannabis, he got out, and people like taking their pictures with Gavin the way they like taking their pictures with Mike Tyson until you recognize the history. And Gavin really hasn't done much in support of the regulated industry, certainly not in respect to increasing access to brick and mortar retail and tax relief. So now they want to take $100 million that's already been earned, and now they want to borrow against it. But here's the thing you got to understand. This $100 million was designated for law enforcement and other public safety initiatives. Yeah, so it's not uncommon when I get into a rant and I start riffing and rambling that the whole fucking internet crashes. I do that shit all the time. Those little wires cannot handle the heat of what I have to say. So what I was trying to say is $100 million in realized tax funds designated for law enforcement and public safety initiatives that is already existing at a time in this industry where we have Oakland police officers getting shot and killed in the line of duty while dealing with cannabis crimes, where we have cities like Santa Rosa saying they're under-resourced to deal with the cluster of cannabis businesses that is attracting professional thieves, while we cover every week on this show another Santa Cruz operator who is trying to secure their property and their livelihood. There's $100 million sitting there. And Gavin's best idea for how to use that money is to borrow it from himself with a promise to pay at a future date, because there's a $37 billion shortfall, of which $100 million is a drop in the bucket. I just can't find anything I like about this. Spend the $100 million with the police to allow them to increase their ability to protect this fledgling regulated industry and to make sure that we don't ever have to cover another Tuan Lee passing away on High at 9 News. This is Yaro Kubrin. I'd like to hear what the rest of you guys have to think.
This is highway robbery.
Real quick. Yeah. This is robbing Peter to pay Paul right here. Real quick, man. The cannabis industry at the beginning of COVID. Hope we don't get demonetized for me saying that word. But single-handedly kept the state afloat. So this is before we got any kickbacks from the federal government or any loans or anything like that. Making cannabis and the cannabis industry a quote-unquote essential business kept the state from going bankrupt. So for him to do some shit like this, man, if you are a fan of Gavin Newsom, I am inclined to say you're probably not from California. He, like, just like Yarrow said, he has alienated a lot of people on the right and the left, and it's stuff like this that just really, really pisses off people that live here, and is driving more and more folks to go to Florida, to go to Texas, to go to Nevada to live, because of stuff like this is only going to hurt us in the long run. And $100 million is not even a drop in the bucket for $37 billion deficit. So get your money from somewhere else.
I'm upset about hearing all of this stuff too, but I just lost all faith in the California legislature after finding out that the kids can be molested there by people who are like 10 years older than them, and the people don't have to sign up to become sex offenders. There's a lot going on with Gavin Newsom's leadership that's just horrible. And you could just take a wheel, put everything important that he's supposed to do, take the wheel, spin the wheel, and then wherever it land at, he's fucked up there. Excuse my language, but it is what it is. I gotta just tell you guys, it's horrible.
Shout out to French Laundry though.
Shout out to Maven Genetics with the strain formerly known as the French Laundry.
We ain't never seeing that money back, guys.
No, we're not.
That's just
we're never gonna get that money back. This is straight up robbery and theft of taxpayer funds, and technically this is basically Gavin Newsom basically pushing the whole defund the police movement because it's taking money away from resources.
That's exactly what it is. He's fucking the police.
Yep.
When we need cooperation between law enforcement and industry to bolster loss prevention and the security of this industry, and to not have it be a vector or magnet for professional thieves. And anybody who's in favor of this is not in favor of a regulated industry that works, and is also not in favor of our men and women in blue, because this was supposed to provide them with resources so they could do a better job supporting regulated operators. Shame on Gavin. I hope he gets a chafy ass disease right between his cracks. Some sort of something that's contagious.
You know what? I just want to say this. I just want to say this. Listen, I just want to say this, right? The Democrats realized that they failed with the defund the police movement. And during the test market, people were like, you're absolutely crazy. So now instead of defunding police, what they're doing is demoralizing police. What they're doing is making police officers feel like the worst of the worst, so people do not want to become or even consider staying police officers.
That's
and this is now what they're doing, because they can't defund them, but they can demoralize our police officers, and they can make them. I mean, we have bad cops that should never be cops, and every cop that is a cop. And hold on, wait. And every cop that becomes a cop should know the Constitution, and this is my opinion. So I'm not here to say, but we need good cops. And we always see bad cops, but they don't never show all the good cops that are doing good stuff, that has been protecting your Second Amendment rights, that have been protecting your freedom of speech, that have been protecting your community. They don't show that. And I believe that this is them saying, especially in these major metropolitan areas and cities and in these states, there's like, we can't defund them, but we can demoralize them and make them feel like nothing they does matters.
But this is defunding. This is defunding. This is defunding. You got $100 million sitting there.
$100 million that's earmarked for them.
Defunding. That is taking the money and putting it someplace else. This is literally defunding the police on our time, on our dime, and in a way that doesn't support our industry, when we are the people and the entities that created that tax revenue, and it is already earmarked for law enforcement. How dare him?
I agree.
You know what, Yarrow? I wonder how much of that revenue was used to pave the streets for President Xi coming in. And what kind of return?
Adam, where's the bombs here?
What kind of return are we going to get on that as the state of California?
In California, Rico, they can't pave the streets for President Xi. They got to pave the streets for presidents, they, them.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Get him, Yarrow.
Get him, Yarrow. All right.
He went Super Saiyan 3.
All right, you guys.